I might say to you that presenting the budget or the financial challenge to the congregation has really been an interesting task for me. Last year, I think the computer system died in the middle while I was making the presentation. I think a year before that, the electricity went off, and so I'm not really sure. I hope you'll stand by. I'm not sure what'll happen today, but it's a challenge to me. But giving the presentation for the church it's not the end result that we're looking for. It's just the finances that we need to help carry out the ministries that we're trying to accomplish. And so that's a pretty good goal, I think. And so I hope that when I try to give you the information, I hope you'll be able to take it and understand kind of in a better way how the contribution that you give each week, how that's spent and where it goes and how it's administered toward the ministries. That's important information, I think. One thing I might mention to you, in 2016, we made some changes in our ministers in their work. In 2015, Mike Mazzalongo had the task of education, involvement, and then he also worked Bible talk along with that. And then we hired Mike Coghill, and he'd been working with the youth and their families. And so that's what's happened in 2015. But 2016, we've made some changes about that, and Mike Mazzalongo will now be working Bible talk and education, and Mike Coghill has picked up the new part. He'll be working youth and family and involvement. So it's transitioned from Mazzalongo to Coghill. And so it's a very agreeable sort of process. There'll be financial compensations that will go along with that. But Mike Coghill will be working with the youth and families, as he's been doing, be talking about planning congregational events, budget and bulletin announcements, new member involvement, coordinating the visitor information, that sort of thing. So he'll have quite a bit of new work, but he's demonstrated that he has a lot of capability, and so we believe that'll work very well, and it'll be a good new task for the church, I believe. When I start talking about the actual funding of various areas and various ministries, I'd like to start talking about education first of all. And we're divided up so that it talks about teaching materials, and that's stuff for the children's Bible time. That's for materials for the classes for the kids, grades 1 through 12, and it also is for some of the adult classes. And we spend that money based on whatever the need is, whatever kind of material we think we need for a given class, and so that's the way that works. Teaching supplies, that's $1,450, and that's primarily for Vacation Bible School. And then there's $6,900, and that's for the youth ministry and the work that goes with that. And Mike Coghill will later on have information to tell you to expand that quite a bit. So that comes out, and these are yearly totals, that comes out to $11,450 that is for education. The next chart we'll look at is evangelism. This is a pretty big task with us. Local evangelism is $7,000, and it's for advertising articles that we might have in newspapers or that sort of thing. But the biggest part of this is for the Titus II ministry. And as far as I know, the ladies of this congregation has worked, the older ladies has worked to bring the younger ladies in together to work so that it's older ones teaching the younger ones. That certainly sounds biblical to me. And there's been a lot of effort spent in that, and a lot of you, the ladies, are involved in that, and I think it's a very good program, and it has very good outcomes so far. And so Titus II is what that ministry is, the primary focus of most of the money that goes in, the local evangelism. Bible Talk, that's Mike's, the funds that we give towards working his Bible Talk project, $7,800. After I get through, Brother Mike Mazzalongo will come up and he'll talk and tell us about a better definition of that as well as some other topics. In the international mission evangelism that we have, it's $21,500, and that's for Jean Elmira in Haiti. It's for Jeffrey Karima in Meru, Kenya. And you might have a question. You say, well, where's World Bible School in that? And World Bible School is pretty much self-funded. People that are involved in that, quite a few people are involved in that, and so the finances that are just given towards that program pretty well sustain it, and it works very well. I would hope that you'll look in your bulletin this week that you've got, and it has a good summary report about what's happened in 2015 with the World Bible School. Not everybody in the world has computers. Not everybody in the world's got the cell phone. Bible Talk works in a lot of places in the world. Sending out written correspondence courses to people in Africa works well too in that certain category of people. So we're trying to look at what options that we have, and we're trying to do as well as we can towards evangelism. That is a real big important thrust I see for this church family. Talk about fellowship. We'll have more to hear about that, but it talks about the Affirming the Faith, $1,000. That's a lectureship that goes on at the North MacArthur Church of Christ each year, and a lot of congregations participate in that, and we try to encourage people to go. It's usually Friday night and most of the day Saturday, a lot of Bible classes, special topic classes, and they have guest speakers that come. They're usually very skilled people to do that. Part of that $600 for the card ministry, and miscellaneous, that's probably for fellowship events. Most of those are actually funded by the people that participate, but there are times come along when we need to spend a little money with that. $2,650 in that category. Service administration, we have some pretty big items in this part of the financial challenge. Utilities are like $23,000 per year. Insurance, $18,000 per year. We're making an effort to have a completely replacement of the sign that's out in front of our building. It's $6,500, and it'd be quite a bit of volunteer effort to make that work. And so that is something that's in the plans for this year. We'd like to see that done. It's a sign, to my knowledge, that will be pretty much kind of like what we've got, but it will have the capability that we can expand with panels to drive the computer information to the panels instead of having to go out and change the signs each week. So that's a good sign. It has a lot of improvement possibilities. And we're also talking about a billboard sign probably up on 23rd Street that'll advertise the Church of Christ. It's really, I'm in a business that says advertising is really important. You advertise, advertise, advertise if you want to do business. I think the church has to have that same perspective too. And so that's what that billboard would be. I believe it's going to be for 9 months, as I got that right, somewhere like that. It'd be up on a main street, a main intersection, be where everybody goes down 23rd, can see it. That'll help us. We're trying to tell people about Jesus Christ, and they need exposure to know where we are and who we are and what we're trying to do. So that's a good thing, I think. But there's more to service administration than just that cost. There is the printing and the copiers. That's an everyday expense that we have. And so there's quite a bit associated with that. You might not really think much about it, but there's a lot of paper goes through copiers here. A lot of documents are prepared, a lot of information that's made available. And so that's $8,000. Internet fees, $3,200. And there's others that they're kind of all smaller categories like office supplies and postages and video streaming and those kind of things, total up to be $58.50. And then the subtotal of that is $69,550. And then the next one is salaries, $297,100, and that's for the 3 ministers we have, a secretary, a bookkeeper, custodian, and it's our part of paying the Social Security and Medicare tax for those salaries that are applicable. And you might look at that, you say, boy, that's a lot of money. But we have really skilled people working at this congregation. They're as skilled as any place I go that I've seen, and I travel quite a bit. Really good quality skilled people. Our ministers are really working towards preaching the truth, preaching it with God's love, with dedication. There's not anything phony about any one of them. They're really dedicated to the work. They're dedicated to the Lord. They're dedicated to this congregation. They're dedicated to you and me. So when I look at that, I say, well, that's quite a bit. But we get an enormous benefit from it if we just come and take advantage of it. So I would encourage you, I'd say you ought to be in every Bible class we could. Don't miss a single one. Don't miss a single service because we got greatly skilled people presenting information to us. Don't miss a Wednesday night. I hope you're hearing me. I hope you're listening. So let's try to take advantage of that, please. Another one of our ministries is service benevolence, and this is miscellaneous benevolence. That's $11,000, and that is primarily helping members of the church here that need help when it's necessary. From time to time, there's other money spent, but that's the bulk of what goes on out of that account. And, that sort of sounds like our responsibility, doesn't it? Help those that are in need of help. So we do that. Another thing we have is the Church of Christ Disaster Relief Fund, and oftentimes there are disasters that go on in this country, and years ago, I used to work with that, and every time there's a disaster in a town, like in Kansas or Oklahoma or Texas or wherever they might be, I'd call up and try to find out, do you need help? Can we help you? This is a better way of doing that because we contribute $150 a month, $1,800 per year, to the Church of Christ Disaster Relief Fund, and they're in Nashville, Tennessee, and they go whenever there's a disaster in the eastern part, the southern part, the central part of the United States, they go. And you'll probably remember a few years back, we had a terrible ice storm and where our electricity was off for a week. They came here with 2 semi-trailer truckloads of material for us. And I remember we filled up that fellowship room. It was stacked to the ceiling. You almost couldn't get through there. When we unloaded that material, and it was gone in 3 days. People were helped because of the contribution of other people bringing supplies to help us. So we are in that program. I believe that's about as good as any I'm familiar with. So there's some minor things like shower funds and flowers and counseling that might be necessary for when funerals occur. We want to do that too. Service maintenance is another pretty big one. Grounds maintenance are like $6,000 per year. General interior repairs, $4,000. These are estimates. We don't know for sure what's likely to occur, but they're estimates for that. Bathroom renovations, we had $9,000 in our account last year, and we never got to it because we didn't have the money to do it. So we put it back in there this year, and we'll see if we can't make it work then. General repairs exterior, that's $1,000. And if we go to the next chart, it relates to the maintenance ministry. The heat and air, the maintenance, repair, and replacements for our air conditioning heating systems, that's $10,000. That's a lot. We spend that if we need it. That's not a given that we're going to spend that right off, but if we need it, sometimes those machines go down and they quit working. I like to be cool in the summertime and I like to be warm in the wintertime. I have that ridiculous idea. And I hope you do too. So we try to take care of that. So $10,000 there. Vehicle maintenance, $1,000. Vehicles, fuel, and miscellaneous, $1,200. And there's others, $1,600. That's like custodial supplies and spraying the grounds outside and lights and bulbs and the security monitoring system, ALCOM. So that's something we have. There's a regular monthly payment for that as well. One thing I might mention too is about one sections of the service maintenance is debt servicing and paying off the debt. You probably have been told 2 or 3 times so far this last month that where our target is to have our finances of all the things that we've been doing here completely paid for in December of next year, 2017. So we're looking at that. The way they set that up, we're allowed to pay, I think, up to 3 months per year extra payments. You can't I guess you could go pay it off, but if you did, there'd be a penalty for that, I'm sure. But they'll let you do that, and so without any penalty or anything problem with doing it that way. But if we had the money, if you wanted, say for example, you want to make a special contribution for that purpose above your regular contribution for paying off the debt service, you could do that, and we'd be glad to process it that way. The sooner we could pay for it, the better off we'd be. So that's something I think I'm going to try to do that. I hope you might try to do that as well if you can. So the last category is for the worship. That's communion supply. These are not really biggies, but they're communion supplies, $400. Guest speakers, $400. Audio visual. We kind of like to be able to hear what goes on when somebody's up here talking. And yet it's pretty nice to be able to hear it. I think that's kind of good. You like to see the visual stuff that we have back here. That's $1,000 spent for that. The sound booth computer, we may need to replace that, $1,200. There's other things like batteries and headsets and directory supplies, and the sound system may need help from time, and nursery supplies. And so those kind of things all go together and they're lumped under worship. So if I would try to add all these together, let me go back through each summary that I had for the ministries. And so education, $11,450, evangelism, $36,300, fellowship, $26,550, service administration, $69,550, salaries, $29,700, Service benevolence, $13,690. Service maintenance, $35,800. Debt servicing, $48,000. Worship, $3,700. And all that totals out to $516,240. That sounds like a lot of money to me. I believe when I was going to school, I think you'd call that $500,000. That's a lot of money. But you know, we got a lot of people that are really trying to support the church, make it work. We're trying to be servants of the Lord. You know, every one of us sat here in a comfortable pew today because somebody else before us took the effort and made it possible for us. I can remember when we was up in town in Choctaw, a little old brick building up where the church might have had, 50, 70 people, and we got into, didn't even have elders. We decided, well, maybe we ought to try to do something better. And Bill Gentry was a guy that really helped us a lot with that, a builder. So he helped us. We purchased this land out here. We built a building, and so we got it started out here because of somebody's effort. It didn't just happen. This building has been added on to 3 or 4 times. I don't know if we can make the auditorium any longer. I guess we could. I'd have to look back there and say, are you back there? And I'm not sure, you know. So we've done that. I think we're probably at the limit of what you could do. I've seen some congregations where they opened up wings on this side and that side. That doesn't work very well. I think when the church assembles together, we ought to be an assembly of people together. So we're looking at, so that's a lot of money, but that kind of money will bring us some good results. Not because we need the money, because we want money. It's because we're trying to do what the Lord has asked us to do. So I think that's pretty important as I would see it. So you look at the final total, and that comes down to $9,927 per week. From our budget last year, that's actually about a 2% increase, but we didn't quite make the budget last year, so that's really about a 9% increase over what our actual contribution was last year. So I'm encouraging you. I hope, I feel I'm pretty much I support this. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea because we're trying to do the Lord's work and we're trying to step up and be counted. Lord bless us and help us. Okay. Brother Mike? I'm afraid to touch it. I'm afraid to turn it off.
Yeah, certainly want to commend Brother Harold because he has really taken the lead on the numbers part of this and chasing down all the numbers that need to, be put together for this. So thank you, Brother Harold, for your good work. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the areas where I'm responsible for. Certainly happy for Mike Coghill. He'll speak briefly after I have, but he's taking on new responsibilities, and certainly as Harold has mentioned, has demonstrated in the last year that he's certainly capable of doing that. He was hired with the idea of that he matures. And as I do more and more for Bible Talk, as that program grows, he will take on the involvement that I used to do. Like John the Baptist said, he must increase, I must decrease. So that's the way that goes. All right, let's talk a little bit about, very briefly, the things that I'm responsible for. Adult education, by the way. There are others that manage the, Mike Coghill, obviously, for the youth, and then Don Furch and other sisters who take care of the children. But as far as adult education is concerned, it requires the work of a lot of different people. Thanks. I certainly want to take this opportunity to thank all those people who have taught classes for me this past year. At the moment, we have 7 different courses offered every single week, something for everybody. 7 different classes that we offer. So people were saying in the survey that we had a while ago, well, I wish we had choice of different types of classes. Well, you want a choice, you've got choice. 7 different. The only reason we don't have 8 or 9 is we don't have any other classrooms. So every classroom has a teacher, has a topic, something different, a topical class, a textual class, Old Testament, New Testament, all kinds of subjects by very qualified teachers. In 2015, we offered 20 different classes. As I said, a variety of teachers, even brought in some guest speakers. We had Brother Testu, Dr. Testu from Oklahoma Christian, talking to us about his specialty in the Old Testament for an entire quarter. We also bring in guest speakers from time to time. So all that is part of the mix to try to provide challenging biblical teaching for our congregation. As Brother Harold says, the only ingredient missing is your presence. You know, we can set the class up, get the best teachers, do the best we can, but it doesn't work if the congregation cooperates with that and participates in the teaching. As far as Bible Talk is concerned, that's my other big area. Bible Talk, just some statistics. I mean, is one way of explaining it. Visitors in 80,000, over 80,000 visitors. That's not me, you know, punching the button, the repeat button 750 times, you know. That's 80,000 unique visitors. That's a lot of people who come to download videos, watch videos, download transcripts, books, e-books, mini books, all kinds of things, podcasts. Last year we produced 26 books, not just books like e-books, but actual paper books, 26 full-length books. Last year, 11,400 e-books were downloaded. Somebody saw a title that they liked and they downloaded it to their computer, or they downloaded it to print it off. That's 11,400. 140 video films. We produced 140 video films on Bible teaching last year, and our YouTube views. This is aside from the people who come to our website. Our YouTube views, 57,740 people. The basic point of these stats is that every year, more and more people use our website for personal Bible teaching, or our resources for their small groups, for their churches, or for mission points. One other statistic, interesting, works out to about 500 people a day. 500 people a day come to our website to look at stuff, download videos, buy things, whatever. 500 a day. Now, if we were selling soup or cheese, you know, maybe that wouldn't be enough. You got to be counting in the millions. But remember, this is a serious, important Bible teaching. Imagine if you could get 500 people a day walking into the building saying, I'd like to have a lesson on baptism, or I'm interested in the Old Testament. You got something on, the book of Genesis? Or could I come in and get one of your books here that's on the rack? Or could I get a video of a class of yours? Imagine if 500 different people walked into the church building asking for that. Well, that's exactly what's happening. From countries all over the world are doing this. For 2016, we're going to expand our service into Spanish. We already have the Spanish website. We purchased the name labibliahabla.tv. This is Spanish, Bible Talk in Spanish. Hal and I have prayed for this for many, many years. You know, if we could just expand our service into Spanish. Obviously, neither one of us speaks Spanish. But lo and behold, Brother Carlos Bautista and Brother Chris Farrell, they're in the back. Let's see, the gentleman in the very middle in the back row with the white shirt, and the gentleman behind him in the blue shirt. That's Chris Frizzell in the blue shirt, and the gentleman in the middle is Carlos Bautista, and next to him would be to your left on this side is his son. Carlos Bautista is a member of the church, obviously. He's a preacher for the church in Mexico. He's been preaching 35 years. He's established several congregations in Mexico, a couple of preaching schools in Mexico. He's supported by the church in Fort Worth, where Brother Chris Frizzell is education minister. Well, while Hal and I were praying, dear Lord, if we could there's millions and millions of people, where the next country down is Mexico, you know, Spanish, such a great outreach. Brother Bautista and Brother Frizzell were praying, dear Lord, we have to get onto the internet. We have to get onto the internet. It's just not enough planting little churches in Mexico and a preaching school over here and preaching. We need to harness the energy of the internet for Spanish missions. And one day they opened the Christian Chronicle, and there they saw an ad for Bible Talk, free adult Bible videos. And they went to Bible Talk, and they went, there it is. Exactly what they wanted to do, we were already doing. So they called us, they got in their car, they came to visit us several times. Long story short here, they will now begin to film classes, sermons, devotional. In other words, they will mimic Bible Talk. They'll do exactly the same thing, the same production values, the same logo, everything in Spanish, and they will also use my books as the basis for the teaching. In other words, they'll take, Ephesians for Beginners, they'll take that book, and Brother Batista, who used to be a journalist before he went into preaching, will begin going through Ephesians for Beginners, and he will just translate it using that framework into Spanish, create a 13-lesson course in Spanish for that, provide it for free. In other words, what we're offering for free to people who speak English, they will begin offering for free. And their website will be hosted by us. In other words, eventually on our website, you'll have everything on our homepage, and then there'll be a button there, Spanish version. And you'll hit that button, and it'll take you directly to the Spanish side, which is Bible Talk in Spanish. So that's what's new for 2016. A very exciting. By the way, this is a picture of people who have graduated from their training school, that all have their Bible training school. They all have their diplomas. Brother Batista tells me the greatest thing in Mexico and the Spanish world, the preachers there are locally trained or trained in preacher school. They're dying to get Bible teaching material. There's nothing for them, he says, in Spanish, nothing. And this is what was driving his need to create a website. So God has answered our prayers. I'll also speak very briefly about some of the mission works. I've been asked to do that. John Almera, of course, we've supported him for many years. He sent his report. Obviously, he has a radio show. He has a TV show. He reports 316 baptisms in 2015. There are 20 students at the moment in the preaching school there that they're training. And I don't know if you can see, but the students are holding books in their hands that they use at the preaching school. And I don't know if you noticed, but those are all books, Bible Talk books. Those are all Ephesians for Beginners, Genesis, 1 Corinthians for Beginners, so that have been translated into French. And so they're using our material, not our website, but they're using our material. Anyways, the material that's already been translated into French, they're using it in their preacher training schools. He continues to do very well. He's one of the premier missionaries in Haiti, and we have 50% of his support, 50% of his work, and we've had it for many, many years, a terrific work. And then our newest support, Jeffrey Karima. We took Jeffrey as a worker. We sent him to college. We paid for him, and we supported him while he was in the South Africa Bible Institute. He got his degree, went back to work, preaching and teaching in local churches in Kenya, in Meru, which is a central province in Kenya. And also, he was the assistant principal at the Meru School of Theology, which is a local Bible and theology training school for the church there in Meru. The principal this year, unfortunately, passed away. Brother Festus passed away, and he was promoted to the principal. So the man that we have put through school and kept and stayed with for several years is now the principal of the main training school that trains local preachers for the country of Kenya, and we support him 100%. We provide his work fund. We support him 100%. This is a tremendous worker. Very, very happy with the results that we've had with this work. If he was like stock, it would be like buying Apple stock back in 1990. You know what I'm saying? So we started with just a young guy who needed help going to school, and he's turning out to be a premier leader in the church in this area, and we've been with him. Thanks to the wisdom of our elders and the support of the church here, we've stuck with him for these many years, and he is now bearing a tremendous amount of fruit because of the confidence that we've had in him and the blessing that he receives. One last thing, just want to mention, of course, World Bible School, self-financing. A lot of members already support that separately. We're very happy with that. Expanded their work after Brother George passed away, of course. Brother Steve Harrison took that over. kind of redid the whole thing, and now it's working even more effectively than it has in the past. More workers. Wednesday night, a lot of folks go there and help out. One other thing that perhaps Harold didn't mention is that World Bible School has also expanded in the internet. Because yes, a lot of people don't have the internet, but a lot of people do have the internet in Africa. A lot of people have cell phones. And so World Bible School is adapting to that by providing courses online, so on and so forth. And our World Bible School ministry here has adapted to that and also using the online services to reach their students. So another marvelous work that is supported by this congregation. One last thing I want to say, just thank you very much for Bible Talk. It's the main part of my ministry. Thank you certainly to the church, but thank you for a lot of individuals that support this particular work. Obviously, the church supports me personally. I don't get any of the money from Bible Talk, but the money we do raise pays for Hal's full-time salary, and we have a whole list of people who serve our ministry as typists and editors and so on and so forth, and they have to be paid. And so we want to thank you very much for your support and hope you'll stay with us for 2016. Brother Mike, almost last, certainly not least.
You want me to talk about them real quick? This is a sample. This is our website. If you weren't aware, back in 2014, we had a website that looks similar to this, but Hal kind of updated and redid it. And he's also working on, for next year, even redoing it more. And so that just kind of, if you haven't seen our website, be sure to go check it out. This is kind of what the sign they're looking at redoing for out there. You can see different foundation, lower, kind of a bit more, I don't know how to put it, update and better looking, I guess. And then this is the billboard right there. That is 23rd and I believe Henny, right? Between Henny and Hiawassee. And so that's kind of the billboard that Harold mentioned in his presentation. So the youth ministry, Choctaw Youth Ministry, I'll be talking about that and then also talking a little bit about involvement. The CYG Life, the Choctaw Youth Group's purpose is to help teenagers grow their faith and experience the life that comes through knowing Christ. This is kind of a vision statement that Kendall Perkins, the youth deacon, and myself, we spent several months coming up with this for 2015, kind of give us some direction, kind of where do we go with the youth ministry? Why do we do what we do? And we came up with kind of the goals, which is learning to love, integrated, this idea that the youth ministry is not made up of individual members, but it's a group, and then that group is then also part of the church as a whole. It's not its own separate body. Growing in faith, and then evangelism. So we kind of came up with this idea of the CYG Life. And so that's kind of just a brief idea for that. If you have more questions, you can certainly ask me. But that just kind of gave us why do we do what we do? And when we plan our activities, we want to make sure that each activity we do fits into one of those four goals. That, it's not just something that we're doing just because or because someone else is doing it, but everything we do has a purpose behind it. Last year, some camps we went to, we took the group to Winterfest in 2015, January of last year. That's a Church of Christ kind of youth rally, youth conference down in Arlington. And so that's the picture there on the bottom left. Wichita Work Camp, we took a group to up to Wichita, Kansas, painted houses for just people there in the community there. And then Burnt Cabin Christian Camp, just the normal church camp that we've attended in the past. There's the picture of us right before we left. I think we took about 25 campers this year, and so we're looking at taking even more this year as well. Some service events we participated in. Food Bank, went out to the Oklahoma City Food Bank, packed boxes. I meant to look at the numbers before I got up here, but I think we packed around 4,000 pounds of food that day when we went. Cocoa Carols and Caring, kind of with the help of the congregation, we did that, visited members in the congregation. Project Christmas, this was a new service event for the youth group. We started off the idea being that we would get one family in the community, and the teens would gather raise money themselves, give their own money, and then buy Christmas presents for this family. That started off with the idea of having one family. It actually turned into, we ended up with 3 families that we bought presents for. And so we connected with the schools, they gave us the families, and we were actually able to make contact with the families ourselves, let them know that this is from the Choctaw Church of Christ. Here's when we worship, here's where we are, here's some information about the church. And so we were able to make personal contact that way. And then we also fed the high school football team back in October. One thing that we did that was big was a new youth room. We kind of, in the annex, there's the Titus II room, and then used to be the multi-purpose room, which is now the Choctaw Youth Room. Used to be kind of that lovely yellow color. We kind of made it our own and painted it that bright blue color. You can see there's class, we'll do class in there, activities in there, and so that's kind of become our space right there. You can see the screen there, and then the beloved ping pong table there in the bottom left corner. This year, for kind of just some plans that we've got, Burn Cabin Christian Camp, again, like I said, we're looking at that. That's a 3rd through 12th grade camp, and so if you have a 3rd through 12th grader, whether it be a child, grandchild, or neighbor that is looking for a church camp to go to, we want to invite them to join us. Burnt Cabin, it's down near Tahlequah, right on Lake Tenkiller. Winterfest, this weekend we're actually taking a group to Winterfest again. Quick plug, there's a meeting in S3, parents, if you're sending your child. Retreats, we're looking at doing a girls and guys retreat in February, and then also a spring retreat. We've rented out Burnt Cabin for the weekend for the youth group to go down there and do a spring retreat. Local work camp, we're not able to go to Wichita work camp this year because it's the week before church camp. And so we are actually looking at doing a local work camp here in Choctaw, where I've talked to a few members already for them to kind of be on the lookout. And basically the youth group and the congregation as well is invited and encouraged to participate in this. We'll go find a member here in the community and we will work on their house. We'll paint their house, maybe do some landscaping, simply show the love of Christ to them and kind of let them know who we are and why we're doing this. And so that's kind of on our plans there. And then the Golden Travelers Banquet, kind of a service project for the youth, looking at hosting one of those this year. We're also going to start planning a mission trip for 2017. Our plan is to do some kind of foreign mission trip in the year 2017. In order for that to happen, you got to start planning in 2016. And so begin planning for that. If you know of any missionaries or any countries, if you've got connections that you think it would be great for our kids to go to or our youth to check out, come find me, let me know today or some other day, put me in contact. That is Honduras on the left, Haiti on the bottom there, and then that's Chile on the far right, not Texas. I know Texas thinks that they're their own country, but it's not Texas. Just clarify that. And so, but like I said, we got to begin planning for that this year. And so if you have any suggestions or anything, let me know. Involvement, as Harold mentioned, I'll be youth, family, and involvement now. And so just kind of some things we're planning for involvement. New involvement forms, if you've ever seen the new member, they get the involvement form of what they'll like to be involved in. We are planning on burning all of those that we have, so everyone has to fill out a new one. And so our plan is for everyone to fill out a new one. That way we can get an updated list, figure out where people want to serve and what area they want to serve in. Sunday night fellowship meals, just kind of an idea. The surveys we did, one common thing was more fellowship meals. Well, it's kind of hard on a Sunday afternoon, just given our space, but we're looking at maybe doing Sunday night fellowship meals instead. 30-day challenge, this is something Marty brought to my attention. It's reading through the New Testament in 30 days. There's a place, I believe it's Happy, Texas. There's a Church of Christ in Happy, Texas. They came up with this program, and so we're looking at doing this kind of for a month in the spring possibly. Reading through the New Testament in 30 days. Congregational service projects, whether it be local or going down to the food bank again in Oklahoma City, just kind of as a congregation. Church-wide campouts and retreats. Last fall, Kendall Perkins organized the church-wide camp out. If a camp out or a retreat is something you're interested in or you want to help organize, whether it be a day retreat somewhere, or renting out, a church camp or another facility, come talk to me. Let's work through that. And then one final thing, just kind of with involvement, new ministry initiatives. This is kind of the heart of involvement, is figuring out what ministries are you as the congregation, are you as members passionate about, and then how can we get that thing up and running. One example, the food pantry. That was an idea from one of our members, wanted it to get started, and it got started, and now we've got that where we serve, I think I read somewhere, we hand out on average 50 grocery bags a month to people in our community through our food pantry. And so that was a member thinking, I see a need, I want to do this. And so what are you passionate about? I want to encourage you, if there's a passion or something of interest, whether it be a men's ministry, we've got the women's ministry, maybe it's a men's ministry or some other kind of ministry that you want to get started, come find me, let's kind of talk through that. And so that's kind of all I've got for youth and involvement. Like I said, we've got a lot of great things planned for 2016, and so we hope you'll be involved.
The 12th chapter of Hebrews, we read this, verse 2. Fixing our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and has sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. I imagine a conversation between the Father and the Son. I know it never took place because I don't think God works like we do. But when we think about something like this, we might think of God saying to the Father, or God the Father saying to the Son, to Jesus, Son, what do you think about those people down there? And Jesus might say, Father, they're lost. What are we going to do about it? And the Father says, I've got a plan, but it's expensive. What's it going to cost? God says it's going to cost you your life, and it's going to cost me watching you lose your life. And the Son says, no problem, Dad. I love them. They are the joy that I believe was set before Christ to buy us back out of sin. And so when I think about them, I think about the cost that's unimaginable. Jesus' life and the Father watching his Son die. My goodness. It makes $500,000 look pretty small, does it not? We just took a family trip. It was fantastic. And you remember the MasterCard commercials? Those are pretty neat commercials. Somebody was a genius that came up with that plan where they say you take your MasterCard and you buy something for $5, and then you buy something for $10, and then you buy something for $20, and then you've got the result that's priceless. Well, you could wrap up a vacation kind of like this. For example, we went to Disney World. I don't know what all the prices were, but let's say plane fare to Orlando and back, $500. Let's say a night in a motel, $100 a night. Let's say feeding your family at the way overpriced Disney meals, $5 million, whatever it is. But spending quality time with your family in a place where everybody's having fun, priceless. But there's another part to that for me. Coming home when it's all over. Priceless. And that's really about what this is. We're not doing this for the world. We're doing it because we know where our home is, and we're trying to get more people to come home with us. Isn't that right? Amen. So we're going to extend the invitation now because maybe heaven is not yet your home. And that's what we're working towards. All this talk about money, it's just the necessary evil that we have to go through to get things done. But there's something out there that's priceless. And we'll spend whatever we need to spend to obtain that which is priceless, because that's exactly what God has shown us. He spent everything they needed to spend in giving up his Son and watching that Son die. A priceless sacrifice, because we were the joy set before them. If you need to respond to the invitation, that's what this song is for. Let's stand and sing.